So yesterday, when we were in class, yes, and we'll do a very quick review of this as well, we came into the body systems, which my fingers still feel weird moving the mouse that way because I'm so used to being in the weather unit. We spent a good deal of time talking about unicellular and multicellular organisms. And when we talked about multicellular organisms, there was a very word that's very special to that showed up. Elishma, what word is that? Specialized cells. And when I hear of something having specialized cells, I know that it is multicellular. Single-celled organisms are very different. They do not have cells. They have one cell. And that one cell does everything. It does everything. And yes, according to one person's Google Jamboard, even pooping, yes, that's fine. You can put that on there. It doesn't matter. They use an emoji. They're not wrong. No one else put that. We literally watched the video on it. No one else put it. So I know they're paying attention. Unicellular organisms, most of them are microscopic. Most of them. Not all of them. We saw there's always that one weird thing that bends the rule. Most of them are microscopic. How do I know if they're unicellular? Number one, it's one cell. Number two, it does all of life's functions inside of that cell. Now, this is something we talked about in my first class that people started to not understand. I put this on the board because I started to see people really misunderstanding. And I was like, what is this? And they said, oh, that's multicellular organisms because there's more than one cell. Wrong. That's not a multicellular organism. This is many different. This is a one-celled organism. This is a one-celled organism. This is a one-cell. This is a one-celled organism. And this is a one-celled organism. Now, this is an amoeba, but we're going to pretend for just a second that this is bacteria. I'm not going to take the time to go back and download that. The dead deer right up the road here. Okay, he's laying there on the side of the road. Big shocked eyes. Probably thought he was going to cross the road without looking. Heard something come in, looked. Eyes got real big, and then he died that way because his eyes are pretty huge. Right? Yeah, it's really dead deer right over there. And so, boys and girls, I hope you understand that it is not one little bacteria that rolls there and eats that entire deer. That's not how it works. There are billions of little bacteria all over that deer doing their job, filling their niche of breaking down that dead material back into nutrients, releasing it into the atmosphere, releasing it into the soil, and taking in some energy for their self. Just because there's more than one doesn't make it multicellular. You have to look and say, okay, is this one cell part of a bunch of other cells that are just like it that forms tissue that then forms an organ? Or is this just a one-celled organism? This is a one-celled organism. This is his friend right beside him. And remember, Kagan, if this guy skins his knee at recess, guess what? He gone. Because they can't survive. They don't have all those other special cells. Whoops, that's not the picture I wanted. They don't have all those other special cells to make up for that. Again, even if there's all of this, that does not mean it's a multicellular organism. That's a whole bunch of one-celled organisms in one space. If we were to go out to a pond and take a dip of the pond water, take a little dropper, put it in the pond water, take that dropper, put a drop onto a slide for a microscope, put a slide cover on that, slide that under the microscope, you might see something that looks a lot like this under the microscope. Then you might start seeing amoebas and things like that, and little water bears, like microscopic organisms under there. We'll look at that in a few minutes. Then you might see that. But that does not mean it's a multicellular organism. Can you see this thing right here? And then you see another one that's very similar here. and another one over here that's very similar, and you can see the top part of one that's right there. Those are bone cells. Now you start to say to yourself, is this bone cell a multicellular organism? Is it? No, it's not. It's not. Okay, does that mean it's unicellular? There's one bone cell. Then you ask yourself the questions. Can this bone cell do everything in life that it needs to do? Can it make its own energy? Can it get its own oxygen? Can it get rid of its own waste? Can bone cells do that? Or do they need other cells in the body to get them nutrients, to move the blood and the oxygen around the body? Which one is it? They need other cells, don't they? This is part of a multicellular organism. It starts with cells. If I take a bunch of these bone cells and I put them together, Alex, into a group, it's going to form bone tissue, a group of similar cells. Do you see a group of similar cells in this slide from a microscope? I see a group of similar cells. That would be bone tissue. If I put a bunch of that tissue together, it's going to form an organ. What organ do you think bone cells, when put together, they end up forming? Bones. Now, I don't know what bone this might be. This could be your tibia. It could be your fibula. It could be your femur. It could be metatarsals. I don't know which bone. It could be part of your brain. It could be part of your vertebrae. I'm not sure. But I know it's bone cells. And if I were to put all them together, they're going to end up making bones. If I put all of my bones together, there are no other organs that really go along with this. But if I put all the bones together, I get the skeletal system. Now, there's other systems that we will learn. Like when we get to digestive, you'll notice that it goes from a teeny tiny little box to this giant box with its teeth, salivary glands, tongue, esophagus, stomach, small intestine, large intestine, pancreas, gallbladder, and a few other things in there that are all involved in the digestion of our food. And then we'll talk about smooth muscle in there as well, because that smooth muscle is what moves the food through our body via peristalsis. That is an extremely important fact. That's your organ system. Now, when I take the skeletal system, muscular system, nervous system, digestive system, excretory system, respiratory system, circulatory system, and I put all of those systems together, I get an organism. You are an organism. You are the product of a bunch of systems put together, are you not? Yes. When you get to middle school and you take that knife, whether virtually or hopefully physically, because it is actually kind of fun, and you cut open that frog or pig or what other animal you get to do in anatomy, and you look inside of it and you say, oh, wow, there is the circulatory system. I see the heart. I see the veins and arteries attached to it. Oh, those are the lungs. I see that that's attached to the trachea. I see that would take in oxygen. Now I can look down here. Don't poke it, because I did that and made a mistake. If you poke the bladder and it's full, guess what it'll do? It'll pee on you. But that's part of your excretory system. And then you look near the excretory system and you look at these little bitty wavy things. You say, well, gee, that has to be the digestive system, because it looks like intestines. It's all of those systems put together that make an organism. I still have people struggling. They keep saying, Mr. Bullens, is there a such thing as a unicellular, multicellular organism? No, there is not. You are either unicellular, bacteria, amoebas, euglenas, parameciums, or you are multicellular. And the list of multicellular things, Jocelyn, goes on forever. Plants, animals are mostly all going to be multicellular organisms. I mean, your sharks, whales, dolphins, wolves, Arctic bumblebee, banana slugs, All the things that we learned about in ecosystems, mostly all of those things are going to be something you could put in your chart as a multicellular organism. Does everybody feel comfortable with that? Yes. All right. So if we go into, and I know some of you are going to be pretty close to finishing this, if you go into, and I'll go under the exemplar, into the exemplar, and you are working under your homeroom teacher's name, you find a slide and you put your name in the corner. Now, this young lady has only done 1/3 of this project. Mr. Williams, how did you get to 1/3? Unicellular, multicellular, the stuff they have in common. She added no picture. She put no effort into it. I am not going to give someone that does this a good grade. It's just not going to happen. That's a 33. How'd you get a 33? Because that's 1/3 of 100. 33, 66, 99. There's a point in there that gets messed up with the decimals. I'm not stressed about that. Malachi, however, if I go back and take a look at Malachi's, there it is, went right by it. He's got his name. Unicellular organism. Notice his pictures fit. Multicellular organism. His picture fits. If a unicellular organism takes damage, they are probably not going to live. They're going to die, right? Good news, little Billy bacteria. When you skinned your knee at recess, you don't have to take the test on Friday. Bad news is, it's probably because you won't be here. Alishba skins her knee. Here's the Band-Aid. Stop whining and take the test on Friday. Sorry, you've got zillions of other cells that are there to replace those skin cells. Your body will heal itself. And in about a week, that scab will be gone, and maybe a little more than that, and your knee will be fine, right? We've all been there and done that. You might notice this. I'm going to open up a Google, and I'm going to type in, I want you to watch this, multicellular organism examples, and I'm going to hit enter. I'm going to go under the, if it'll let me, images. Is this a multicellular organism? What about these three things? No. Kids, you can't just Google and think it's going to show you what it is. That is not a bee, a human, and a tree. Yes, most definitely. I've seen this picture, and there's a green picture on here somewhere all day long. Kids, I know this showed up when I Googled multicellular. That is a unicellular organism. It's one cell. It's one cell. But there's two of them. There's more than one. No, that is two unicellular organisms. Multicellular organisms are going to look like this tomato, this mushroom, this cat, this hummingbird, this flower, this dog. Those are multicellular organisms. Are we all clear on that? Okay. Another thing, just so you know, if you're getting stuck getting pictures, I can't remember how to do that. Pick the picture up, drag it to the tab you want it, drag it here and let it go, and it will load onto your screen. It's not hard at all. Any questions about how to work on your Google Slides? No? All right. I'm going to stop this video. I'm going to upload it. I'm going to let you work for just a couple minutes on that if you need it. We're going to talk while I'm doing, getting the video loaded so that I can record the second video for today.